This video is part of the 2020 GRESB Assessment Training Program. It will provide you with an overview of the reporting application of the GRESB Real Estate Management components using the GRESB Assessment Portal. We'll start with a quick overview of how the management component fits into the 2020 GRESB Real Estate Assessment. For an overview of the content of the management component, refer to the lesson and video titled Real Estate Assessment Structure and Applicability. Next, we'll go through indicator PO1 in the policy aspect to provide an example of the process of responding to an indicator in the assessment portal. This will also include how to upload evidence to support the response and the evidence cover page. We'll then review indicator RP1 and explain the meaning and requirements of its multiple answer elements. Lastly, we will introduce the GRESB template tool, which can be applied to the management component across multiple entities. You will also find a demo video of how to use the template tool in the lesson called Tips and Tools. As a reminder, the GRESB Real Estate Assessment has three components: management, performance, and development. The management component has the following 5 aspects: leadership, policies, reporting, risk management, and stakeholder engagement. The policies aspect confirms the existence and scope of the entity's policies that address environmental, social, and governance issues. Let's take a look at indicator PO1, which asks, does the entity have a policy or policies on environmental issues? You then have the option of selecting yes or no. If the reporting entity has a policy on environmental issues, select yes. If the entity does not, select no. If yes is chosen, a drop-down list will appear allowing you to select from a number of environmental issues, such as biodiversity and habitat, energy consumption, greenhouse gas emissions, waste management, and water consumption. Select the environmental issues that correspond to your entity's environmental policy. If the policy covers an environmental issue distinct from the issues provided in the list, you have the option of choosing Other. An open text box will appear, allowing you to write in the additional issue that the environmental policy covers. As is the case for a number of other indicators, PO1 requires that you provide one or more evidence uploads to support your response. The evidence provided for PO1 must 1. Demonstrate that there is a formal policy document in place and not simply a list of general goals and/or commitments. And 2. Specifically address each environmental issue selected, for example, a policy on issues such as energy consumption or waste management. It is key that the evidence clearly supports each selected issue because the number of points allocated for the indicator is contingent upon the validity and applicability of the supporting evidence. Note that each year the real estate assessment is subject to an assessment development process, whereby indicators and evidence requirements may change. Consequently, evidence uploads that were accepted in previous years might not necessarily be accepted in subsequent years. The evidence can be a document or a hyperlink. If a hyperlink is provided, ensure that it is not outdated or invalid and that the relevant page can be accessed within 2 steps. Finally, note that additional information regarding the requirements of the evidence uploads can be found in the Real Estate Reference Guide under the validation section of each indicator. Make sure to carefully read the reference guide prior to completing any indicator. To streamline our validation process, we require the use of the GRESB Evidence cover page. It is designed to help you effectively structure evidence and to verify exactly where the selected issues can be found within the provided uploads. This is especially helpful in the case of uploading multiple documents to support the indicator response. For evidence provided in languages other than English, a thorough summary, sufficient to convey that requirements have been met, is required. Participants may make use of the open text box provided in the evidence cover page to provide a summary of the document. In addition, each selected issue must be identified in the evidence uploads by providing page number and exact location, such as paragraphs, clause, sentence, etc. The evidence cover page can be accessed both directly in the assessment portal via the Documents section and in Appendix 2B of the Real Estate Reference Guide. You can also find it in the Materials tab of this lesson. Now let's have a look at indicator RP1, titled ESG Reporting, from the reporting aspect. RP1 asks, does the entity disclose its ESG actions and/or performance? If yes is selected, a number of different disclosure methods appear in the selection list. Participants can upload everything from an ESG section in their annual report to a separately issued sustainability report to an integrated report which is aligned with the International Integrated Reporting Council framework. Note that while participants can select multiple options, the same uploaded document cannot be used to support more than one answer option. For example, the evidence to support section in annual report cannot also be provided for the standalone sustainability report. Let's take section in annual report as an example. When this option is selected, a number of additional fields appear. Select the fields that relate specifically to that disclosure method and be sure they are corroborated by the uploaded evidence. So first, you will need to select the applicable reporting level of the disclosure method. If the scope of the reporting in the annual report discloses actions or performance that are in direct reference to or match the reporting entity can be selected. For example, an annual report that is solely applicable to the entity, or which includes specific and detailed actions or performance of the entity in addition to other entities within the group of companies. Note that if the entity subject to that particular GRESB submission is in itself a group of entities, participants may select entity in this section. An example would be a listed company composed of multiple fully owned subsidiaries. So if the GRESB submission is done at the consolidated level and the annual report covers the entire group of entities, you can conclude that the report is applicable to the entity reporting to GRESB, and then entity can be selected for this disclosure method. Investment manager should be selected if the scope of the reporting in the annual report includes the entity subject to the GRESB submission, but, for example, does not have specific and detailed actions or performance of the entity itself, but rather only for the investment manager as an aggregate. Group should be selected if the scope of the reporting entity in the annual report includes the entity subject to the GRESB submission, but, for example, does not have specific and detailed actions or performance of the entity itself, but rather only for the larger group of companies as an aggregate. Next, you can select whether the section in annual report is aligned with a relevant reporting framework, such as GRI, PRI, or INREV. The report must clearly and directly reference the reporting framework selected. If the report is not aligned, simply leave the section on the text "Choose one." Lastly, you can select if the disclosure is third-party reviewed. If it is, you will select whether it was checked, verified, or assured. If the report is verified or assured, select the applicable standard from the drop-down menu. The formal assurance or verification statement must corroborate the scheme that is selected. It can be included within the report or provided as a separate evidence upload. Reporting year is one of the most important elements of RP1 and varies depending on the disclosure method selected. Section in annual report must refer to actions and/or performance from the reporting year. For an entity reporting on calendar year 2019, the annual report must cover the year January through December 2019. As such, an annual report relating to calendar year 2018 is not valid, unless you explicitly note that the 2019 annual report has not been published yet. This can be done using the GRESB Evidence cover page or in the open text box once the evidence is uploaded. The standalone sustainability report must reference actions and/or performance from the reporting year or the year prior. Consequently, disclosure referencing 2019 or 2018 is valid for a company reporting on calendar year. An integrated report must reference actions and/or performance from 2019, 2018, or 2017 for a company reporting on calendar year. Dedicated section on corporate websites, as well as the disclosure methods section and entity reporting to investors and other must reference 2019. All of the required elements of the evidence uploads and different disclosure methods are explained in detail in the Real Estate Reference Guide. We highly recommend familiarizing yourself with the requirements prior to completing RP1 and keeping the reference guide at hand while reporting. For participants who report multiple entities, GRESB provides a functionality called the Template Tool. The Template Tool is used to create an assessment template including responses, uploaded evidence, and text inputs. It is then applied to multiple reporting entities. This tool is especially helpful if a fund manager has many of the same policies and procedures applicable to the underlying entities. You can find the tool on the assessment portal under Manage Templates. The template tool can be applied to the entire management component. For applicable indicators in the performance and development components, please see the template tool section of the assessment portal. Thank you for taking the time to review this presentation. We hope that the video helped you get a better understanding of the GRESB Real Estate Assessment. For any questions, you can contact us at gresb.com/contact.